I still remember that fateful day like it was yesterday. A Tuesday morning, ordinary as any other in Austin, Texas. But my life was about to change forever, and not in the way I'd ever imagined. It was the moment millions of women around the world dream of. The moment you know a tiny life is growing inside you. A moment filled with hope, love, and I naively believed everything from then on would be rosy. I'm Sarah, 27. My husband, Mark, 29. Both of us only children. We fell in love over 2 years ago before tying the knot. On our wedding day, both our families saw us as the symbol of perfection, the fulfillment of their long-held dreams. Mark's parents, the Millers, renovated their 3-story home into a perfect nest for us. My parents, the Johnsons, bustled about preparing the best dowry for their daughter. They called us the golden couple, the pride of both families. I thought, well, this is it, the start of the fairy tale I'd always dreamed of. Little did I know, that pregnancy test with 2 lines wasn't the beginning of a fairy tale. It was the first shot in a war I couldn't have foreseen. A war without gunfire or bombs, but one that ravaged everything from within. I used to think the joy of pregnancy would bring everyone closer. That love for a grandchild, a great-grandchild, would erase all differences. But I was wrong. Completely wrong. It didn't unite, it exposed. It laid bare unreasonable expectations, invisible pressures, silent rivalries I never knew existed. Today, I'm here to share my story. A story that many out there might be living through but don't dare speak about. About pressures that seem trivial but grow into storms. About how the people we love most can, unintentionally, become our rivals. Have any of you ever felt trapped in a whirlwind of family expectations during pregnancy? Ever wondered why the greatest joy of your life could spark nameless conflicts? I'm holding nothing back. From battles over baby names, showdowns at the baby shower, to a shocking secret we never saw coming. One that pushed everything to the breaking point. I still remember those early days when everything shimmered with the rosy glow of date nights under the golden lights of indie coffee shops in Austin, or wild evenings burning up the dance floor at lively music clubs. Mark and I, we were the golden couple in everyone's eyes. Both only children, never having to share our parents' love or attention. We found each other like 2 perfect puzzle pieces, falling deeply in love and soon dreaming of a home and kids. Our wedding, oh man, it wasn't just a ceremony. It was a legacy event, as my mother-in-law, Eleanor Miller, liked to call it. Mark's family, the Millers, were a prominent old money name in Austin, with traditions and expectations weighing heavy on their only son. His parents spared no expense or effort, renovating their suburban 3-story house, turning the top floor into a luxurious master suite for us. Brand new AC, silk curtains, high-end furniture, everything meticulously prepared to welcome the golden couple into their new life. Meanwhile, my parents, Carol and David Johnson, though a bit more free-spirited in their thinking, matched that devotion for their only daughter. My mom tirelessly put together a dowry, not just traditional jewelry, but a hefty future fund slipped into my hands before the wedding. She gave me detailed instructions, from staying healthy to having good news soon for the grandparents to hold. Even amid the wedding's joyful buzz, I felt the unspoken pressure of the question, "When's the baby coming?" hanging in the air. It wasn't outright nagging, but an expectation clear in every glance, every smile from both families. They saw us as torchbearers for the next generation, carrying the duty to preserve bloodlines and legacies. I thought the pressure would ease after the wedding, but no. It was like a pressure cooker set on the stove, simmering and building heat. Every family dinner, every holiday, turned into a veiled interrogation. "How's it going, honey? Any news yet? You look pale lately. Get a checkup." I'd dodge wine at gatherings. Mark would steer conversations elsewhere, but our mom's focus stayed locked on one topic. My mom, Carol, would slip me packets of fertility-boosting herbal tea, whispering, "This stays between us." My mother-in-law, Eleanor, gifted us baby-friendly home decor, pictures of smiling infants, empty photo frames waiting for grandkid snapshots. I felt like I was living under a giant microscope, every gesture, every tiny sign scrutinized. If I coughed or sneezed, a flood of advice on staying healthy for the big news would follow. Sometimes, their care felt warm, but mostly it was a massive weight on my shoulders, a reminder of a duty I hadn't yet fulfilled. Our marriage stayed peaceful, but that invisible pressure loomed. casting a gray cloud over the bright blue sky of our love. We longed for a child, ached to be parents, but the family's towering expectations turned that longing into constant worry. Could we meet their hopes? Could we deliver the good news they craved? 2 years passed in a mix of waiting, hoping, and anxiety. 2 years of negative pregnancy tests piling up in the trash and long sighs after every doctor's visit. We started wondering if the universe was testing us or if family pressure had somehow built a mental block. But deep in my heart, I held on to faith that one day a miracle would come. And when it did, I thought it would be a moment of pure peace. I was wrong. It was just the start of a storm none of us could have predicted. I can still recall the feeling of staring at that pregnancy test that morning. My hands shook and my heart pounded like it might burst out of my chest. 1 line, 2 lines, 2 bright red lines. I couldn't believe my eyes. After nearly 2 years of endless hope and heartbreak, of herbal tea packets my mom slipped me in secret, and subtle hints from my mother-in-law, it had finally happened. A choked sob escaped my throat, not of sadness, but of pure, overwhelming joy. Mark was still fast asleep beside me. I shook him awake, whispering through tears, "Honey, look at this." His face was groggy, but when his eyes caught those vivid red lines, they lit up. He pulled me into a tight hug, lifted me off the ground, and spun me around in our tiny bathroom. Our laughter echoed through the house, mixed with happy tears. We'd done it. I called my mom, Carol, right away, my voice still trembling with emotion. "Mom, I've got good news." The line went quiet for a moment, then her choked sobs broke through. "Is it true, honey? I'm not dreaming, am I?" She kept asking, as if scared it was just a fleeting dream. Then Mark called his mom, Eleanor. She nearly wept silently over the phone, repeating that this was a miracle, the moment our family has been waiting for. I breathed a sigh of relief. Finally, the pressure was over. No more yain. Any news yet? Questions. I'd be pampered like royalty, a hero who'd fulfilled the family's grand mission. I thought, this was the start of absolute peace. Boy, was I wrong. That peace lasted exactly 1 week. Before my belly even had a chance to show, the war broke out, and it started with the simplest thing in the world, the baby's name. My mom, Carol, fired the first shot. One morning, my phone rang. Her voice brimmed with excitement. "Sarah, my darling, I've thought it through. If it's a girl, it has to be Isabella Grace, so elegant, classy, and charming. For a boy, I love William Asher, strong, classic, yet totally modern." I was floored, not because the names were bad, but because of her speed and certainty. She'd started naming the baby without even asking us. That afternoon, my mother-in-law, Eleanor Miller, dropped by with a bunch of bananas and a bag of fresh oranges. Her smile was radiant, but her eyes held a strange resolve. "Sarah, dear, don't wait till the birth to think about names. Pick one now for good luck." And by the way, she leaned in close, lowering her voice like she was sharing a state secret. Naming the grandchild is the grandparents' right. It's a Miller family tradition. For a boy, it must be Arthur Maxwell, after Mark's great-grandfather. For a girl, Elizabeth Ann, after Mark's grandmother. These names carry history, legacy. She spoke each word slowly, with an authority that felt final, like a decree I couldn't challenge. I stood rooted in the living room, feeling like I was being stretched by 2 ropes pulling in opposite directions. Isabella Grace and William Asher, Arthur Maxwell and Elizabeth Ann, they were all beautiful names. But the issue wasn't the names, it was control. I glanced at Mark, my eyes pleading for help. He frowned, looking at his mom uncomfortably. "Maybe we'll pick the name ourselves, Mom?" I ventured hesitantly. Mark jumped in. "Yeah, Mom, let us look into it. We want something really special for our kid." But the mom's reactions were beyond anything we expected. When Mark tried talking to Eleanor, she stared at him with utter disappointment. "Mark, what are you saying? The grandchild's name is the face of our family. You can't just pick something trendy like kids these days. This is about respecting your ancestors, our traditions." Her voice was icy, freezing the room. As for me, I texted my mom, Carol, trying to gently explain we wanted to choose the name ourselves. She didn't reply. 3 days later, a curt message came. "Fine then. I guess I have no say. Your dad and I only have 1 daughter, and now our grandkid won't even carry the name we hoped for." I knew she was sulking, throwing a guilt trip. But that mix of guilt and helplessness crept into my heart. Every ultrasound visit, besides asking about the baby's health, both moms would bombard us. Which name do you like better? Pick mine. Once, I came home from work to find Eleanor on her laptop, researching names, muttering into the phone with some feng shui expert. Meanwhile, Carol sent me a mile-long list of 10 pre-approved names, demanding I choose immediately. I started feeling suffocated. The joy of expecting was slowly being smothered by these pointless battles. I wondered, if just the name was this stressful, what would they fight over once the baby was born? And would I even get to be the mother of my own child? The name, it turned out, was just a small start. By my second trimester, with my belly visibly growing, the war between our moms truly escalated. Everything, from what I ate to what I wore, became a battlefield. Sarah, honey, you've got to eat more organic kale. My mom, Carol, would call every morning, sending links to articles on optimal prenatal nutrition through holistic diets. It's all for the baby, Sarah. You need to detox your body. That same afternoon, my mother-in-law, Eleanor, would swing by with a hearty pot of beef stew. Sarah, don't buy into that nonsense online. You're eating for two. You need proper nourishment, meat, fish, the works, to have the strength to give birth. She'd shoot Mark and me a sideways glance, as if we were deliberately starving her grandkid. I felt like a marionette, with both moms yanking the strings in opposite directions. Then came the baby gear. Mark and I wanted a versatile, lightweight stroller, perfect for Austin life. But no, Carol insisted. This stroller is the safest, best. Sarah. It's certified by the Pediatric Association. Can't go wrong. Meanwhile, Eleanor was adamant. No, that other brand has better shock absorption for a newborn spine. I've done my research. Both sent photos, videos, and even bought the strollers, forcing us to inspect and choose. Our house started turning into a baby supply warehouse, stuffed with duplicates. 2 identical cribs, different brands, piles of clothes in clashing styles. I was stressed, exhausted. Mark wasn't faring much better. He tried to smooth things over with both sides, but the more he tried, the worse it got. We started arguing more, not because we didn't love each other, but because the external pressure was overwhelming. Mark was frustrated that his mom thought he wasn't strong enough to protect family traditions. I was losing it over my mom's endless texts about maternal mental health that kept flooding in. It all hit a boiling point at my baby shower. Eleanor Miller, my mother-in-law, threw a lavish party at a ritzy country club in Austin. Everything was perfect. Fresh flowers everywhere, gourmet food, and a guest list of the city's elite. I wore a pastel blue maternity dress, forcing smiles and trying to feel happy, but anxiety churned inside me. As the party hummed along, guests chatting merrily, the main door suddenly swung open. My mom, Carol Johnson, walked in. She wasn't invited. I froze. Not only did she show up, but she brought a massive, elaborately wrapped gift, a finely carved wooden crib, with Isabella Grace prominently etched on it in bold, unmistakable letters. The room fell into a terrifying silence. Every eye darted to Carol, then to Eleanor. Eleanor Miller's face hardened, chillingly cold. She stepped toward Carol, flashing a polite smile I knew masked seething rage. "Carol, you're here for a visit?" "I didn't expect you," Eleanor's voice cut like a razor. Carol shrugged, her smile dripping with fake cheer. "Oh, I couldn't miss celebrating with my daughter, could I? By the way, Eleanor, what do you think of this crib? I had it custom made, with my dear granddaughter's name." She emphasized granddaughter, and Isabella Grace sounded like a gauntlet thrown down. I saw Mark's face drain of color. He pulled me to a corner hissing, "What the hell is your mom doing, Sarah?" I didn't know either. Humiliation washed over me. I wanted to vanish from the party. The 2 women I loved most were turning my special day into a public showdown, and I was the loser. The tension was suffocating. Guests started whispering, eyeing us with curiosity. The wordless standoff dragged on until the party's end. Both moms, each commanding their camp, traded veiled jabs and icy glares. Carol's gift, the Isabella Grace crib, sat prominently in the room like a claim staked. The baby shower, meant to be a day of joy and blessings, became an embarrassing drama, a power play between 2 mothers. I thought things couldn't get worse. But life loves a shocking twist. A few weeks after that disastrous baby shower, we had a routine ultrasound. I lay on the table, Mark gripping my hand, both of us on edge from recent events. The technician moved the wand over my belly, staring at the screen. Her face suddenly lit up with astonishment. She glanced at us, then back at the monitor, an incredulous smile spreading. Well, this is interesting, she said, her voice bubbling with excitement. It seems you're having twins. Mark and I gaped at each other. Silence. Then, a second later, our laughter erupted. Joyful, panicked. Twins, not one but two. We were having two babies. That bliss lasted exactly as long as it took to make the phone calls. Mom, I'm having twins. I told Carol, my voice still stunned. What, two? She exclaimed, her tone bursting with thrill. Oh my gosh, two babies. We'll need two outfits, two cribs, and two perfect names. Isabella Grace and I've already thought of Charlotte Rose. Amazing. Then Mark called Eleanor. Her voice was calculated. Two grandkids? Then we'll need two family names. Arthur Maxwell and Elizabeth Ann. Perfect. She muttered plans like plotting a chess match. Mark and I locked eyes, despair flooding us. They didn't see double the joy. They saw double the chance to fight. The pressure didn't ease. It doubled. And I knew this was just the beginning of what was coming. The news that we were expecting twins was like a slow-burning bomb. It didn't just double the joy, it doubled the chaos. Our little Austin home became an unofficial command center for conflicting advice and directives. Me, with my ever-growing belly and bone-deep exhaustion, felt like a hostage caught between two family headquarters. My mom, Carol, immediately sent me a long list of natural childbirth and home birth experts in Austin. Sarah, you need to look into pain-free, non-medical birthing methods. Our bodies are miraculous. You don't need a hospital. She even bought a home birth kit, complete with organic cotton towels and therapeutic massage oils, despite my never agreeing to it. At the same time, my mother-in-law, Eleanor, declared with absolute certainty, only the best hospital in the country is safe enough. Sarah, Mark was born at Seton, Maine, and you should be too. I've already booked an appointment with the head of obstetrics, a friend of Mark's dad. She also sent me a thick book titled The Golden Rules of Modern Motherhood, a rigid manual detailing everything from strict feeding schedules to scientifically approved diets and sleep training from day one. Phone calls, texts, and unannounced visits grew relentless. Each mom assumed the right to decide everything about the two grandkids to be. You must sign up for Miss A's prenatal class. She's the top LeMays expert. Carol ordered. No, Sarah. You need Seton Hospital's class. They teach proper breastfeeding and professional postpartum care. Eleanor countered. My head was spinning. Every morning, I'd wake to a new email from my mom about the benefits of exclusive breastfeeding or a text from Eleanor stressing the importance of formula to ensure steady weight gain. They argued through me, turning me into a mediator for their endless battles. Mark tried to bridge the gap, but his efforts were futile. The more he tried to calm things, the more both moms ramped up, accusing each other, making our lives a never-ending drama. One Saturday afternoon, deep in my final weeks of pregnancy, my belly huge and exhaustion nearly crushing me, the worst happened. Both families, by some miraculous coordination, decided to stage a simultaneous intervention without warning. The doorbell rang. I opened it and froze. There stood Carol with a woman who looked ultra-natural, her long hair in braids, wearing a linen dress. Sarah, sweetie, this is Luna, the home birth consultant I told you about. She'll help you have the gentlest, most natural delivery. Moments later, a sleek black SUV pulled up. Mark opened the back door, and Eleanor Miller stepped out, followed by a polished man in a suit, carrying a leather briefcase. Sarah, Mark, this is Dr. Peterson, the top pediatrician I arranged to consult on newborn care. He'll answer all your questions about vaccinations, checkups, and nutrition. The air in the house turned to ice. The two moms locked eyes, sparks flying. Luna and Dr. Peterson shifted awkwardly. The argument erupted right in our living room. Childcare must follow science, backed by medical association guidelines. Eleanor snapped, gesturing to Dr. Peterson like living proof. Traditional wisdom is the root. Trust maternal instincts and natural remedies. Carol shot back, pulling Luna closer. They didn't talk to us. They talked through us, about us, bickering over our heads. I felt like a contested piece of land, with two armies clashing fiercely. Every word was a dagger to my heart, reminding me I had no voice in my own life. Sarah's breakdown and Mark's awakening. I stood there in that stifling living room, watching the two women I loved, who should have been sharing my joy of impending motherhood, turn it into a power play. The anger, frustration, and quiet pain I'd buried for months erupted like a volcano. Stop it! My scream echoed through the room, startling everyone. I didn't know where that strength came from. Tears streamed down my cheeks. "Please, just stop." Mark turned to me, his face horrified seeing me like this. He'd always tried to play peacemaker, pleasing both sides. But now, watching me crumble, something clicked in his eyes. He realized this wasn't just talk, it was tearing me apart from the inside. "This isn't about you," I went on, my voice hoarse with sobs. "This is about our family, our children. You're driving me insane. You're turning the greatest joy of my life into a nightmare." I collapsed onto the sofa, clutching my pregnant belly, sobbing uncontrollably. All the restraint, the pressure, the hurt piled up over months burst out. Mark stepped to my side, wrapping me in a tight embrace. His face hardened, his eyes fixed on Eleanor, Carol, and the two experts. In that moment, I saw something shift in his gaze. The helplessness vanished, replaced by cold determination. He'd had enough. Mark's voice, deep: "Mom, Dad, Carol, David, we know you love us. We know you're thrilled about the grandkids coming, but enough." He spoke each word deliberately, with commanding weight. Carol and Eleanor froze as if they couldn't believe their ears. Even the two experts looked flustered, stepping back. Mark's voice, continuing slightly louder, showing resolve. "These are our children. Sarah and I will decide everything about them. Their names, how we raise them, their medical choices. We need your support, not your competition. If you can't respect that, then we need space." A heavy silence blanketed the room. For the first time, neither mom argued back. Eleanor's face paled, and Carol stared at the floor. It was likely the first time in his life that Mark, Eleanor's only son, had stood up to her so openly and decisively. And for Carol, who'd always seen her daughter as the center of the universe, Mark's words, speaking for Sarah's will, were a shocking blow. Mark said nothing more. He gripped my hand tightly, pulled me up, and led me out of the living room, straight to our bedroom. I didn't look back. I heard the mom's faltering footsteps and the awkward goodbyes from Dr. Peterson and Luna. The bedroom door slammed shut, like a solid wall shielding us from the storm raging outside. In the room, I collapsed into Mark's arms, tears still flowing, but now they were tears of release, not helplessness. He held me close, stroking my hair, whispering, "You're okay, Sarah. We'll be okay. You're not alone." In that moment, I realized that no matter how chaotic the world outside got, no matter how much pressure our families piled on, I had Mark, and he'd chosen to stand by me, by our little family. It was a powerful moment, a true turning point. The days that followed were tense. Our phones barely rang from our parents. They were probably reeling from Mark's declaration. That silence was scary at first, but slowly it became a precious remedy. For the first time in months, I felt like I could breathe. Mark and I could sit together, uninterrupted, and really talk about what we wanted for our kids. We started with names. No more lists from Carol, no pressure for Eleanor's family names. We searched together, debated, and finally chose two names we both loved, Noah and Lily. Noah meaning peace, restful, and Lily a symbol of purity, beauty. Simple, meaningful names, and most importantly, our choice. We spent time decorating the nursery together. No more fights over colors or brands. We picked soft greens and creams, creating a cozy, serene space for Noah and Lily. Every picture we hung, every toy we placed, held special meaning for us. It wasn't just preparing for the baby's arrival, it was building a new identity for our little family. We learned to say no politely but firmly to unwanted advice and to accept genuine support. Carol and Eleanor eventually called again. Their voices held a hint of awkwardness, a mix of sulking and worry. Mark spoke with his mom, and I talked to mine. We didn't apologize for defending our family, but we didn't blame them either. We just explained, "We love you, but these are our kids. We need to make the decisions." Slowly, the calls grew less tense. They started asking our opinions before buying anything, even inquiring about the names we'd chosen. When we said Noah and Lily, they seemed a bit disappointed, but neither objected. Respect began to sprout, even if just as tiny seeds. Time rolled on. The final 2 months of my pregnancy passed with surprising peace. No more grilling phone calls, no uninvited experts showing up. Carol and Eleanor still sent gifts, but now each came with a humble note. "Hope you like this. Feel free to exchange it if not." That change, though small, meant the world to us. It wasn't just respect, it was a sign they were starting to accept the boundaries we'd set. Mark and I spent those last weekends preparing for Noah and Lily's arrival. We assembled cribs ourselves, folded tiny clothes, and whispered stories to them about the world outside. We didn't worry whether the crib met the in-laws' standards or if the bottles were natural enough for my mom's ideals. Everything was our choice, ours alone. That freedom brought a lightness, a calm I hadn't felt throughout the pregnancy. Then the big day came. On June 18th, 2025, at Seton Main Hospital in Austin, despite Carol's slight disappointment over no home birth, Noah and Lily were born. Their first cries were like a beautiful symphony, washing away all the exhaustion, worry, and stress that had clung to me for months. Holding Noah, then Lily, I knew every battle had been worth it. After the twins arrived, our relationship with both families found a new rhythm. Eleanor and Carol adored their grandkids, but they'd learned to show that love with more respect. No more rigid instructions, just questions. Can I help with anything, Sarah? Need anything for the babies? My mom even brought over steamed bird's nest with a note. Drink it if you want, just stay healthy. It was a big step, proof they'd truly listened and changed. My journey through pregnancy and childbirth wasn't just physical, it was a massive emotional and mental challenge. It taught me priceless lessons about family, boundaries, and standing up for myself. If you're going through something similar or gearing up for parenthood, know you're not alone. These battles are real, and they're tough, but you have the strength to overcome them. Share your stories, your advice, your wins, and your struggles in the comments below. Let's build a community where we support each other in setting healthy boundaries and creating the family life we truly want. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss more real stories about life and family. Thanks for listening.